Yo, yo, yo.
There's no sex in the champagne room, my friend.
You got me. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, so
I thought you were gonna say ain't no sunshine.
these are just some stories, some anecdotal stories, but Rick's raised forecast estimates for earnings. Rick's is a publicly traded strip club on the New York Stock Exchange. If you guys don't know Rick's. They raised estimates, and there is a shortage of dancers. I mean, there are labor shortages. There are labor shortages all over our markets. The Fed right now, as we know, is trying to tamp down inflation. The causes of inflation are largely out of their control. That would be Ukraine being the breadbasket of Europe and causing the energy spike that we've seen, and also the shutdown of China due to COVID. These are your main drivers of inflation. The Fed can't raise interest rates to make those things go away, but they're trying to quell demand because it will at least temporarily slow the rate of these price increases. And that's what they're trying to do. So where was I going with this, Artu? Oh, no.
Champagne in this lecture.
Right. So they are trying to fix this through the tightening of the labor market. They would like to see wage growth slow down. People are too rich. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people because the narrative is we're in a recession, liquidity is draining, there's no money anywhere. Liquidity is draining from risk assets. Like here's where it's a backwards it's backwards thinking right now. Everybody who's been in risk assets for the last 10 years has felt remarkably wealthy compared to all the peons working. Okay. Now it's going it's very short term. I mean, but it's got for the last 6 months, it's gone the other way. Wage growth has been great. Your average person can get a job very easily. There's
the wage market is very competitive.
I mean, look at airline prices. Look at restaurants. They're full. I mean, people are eating out all the time.
And I'm gonna tell you on the restaurant note, before I was leaving, and I know it's gotten worse since. We were having to pay well above like what our starting wage was for like chefs, line cooks. I mean, minimum wage here got up to is up to like just over $15, which is fine. That that's neither here nor there. This is my comment, but a lot of times you start a line cook 25% above it or whatever, and then just say like show me what you got. And we're pretty aggressive in retaining employees because it's very expensive to train new people, right? Like there's good quality in holding long-term employees. And we always saw the value of that, but man, like it got so tight out there that it was like you were really paying just to get people in the door. In interviews, like people were saying like I've got job offers lined up for this, and you were trying to outbid everyone just to get employees. So I mean, this is the free market at work, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, raise minimum wage, we need to take care of the lowest class or whatever. I'm like, well, the free market is kind of doing that on its own, really.
And why is unemployment so low? Why are wages going up so much? Yet we still can't fill jobs. And you see people out there saying, "Oh, I can't get the job." Well, you can't get the job you want. There are many jobs out there available right now. But again, the Fed is trying to. The Fed is trying to slow demand without causing a recession to wait out transient effects from a war and a supply chain. That's why markets are so, scared right now, because that is a difficult needle to thread. Anybody who tells you they know whether it will be unsuccessful or successful is just, there are so many moving parts to what's going on right now. And that's why markets are down. Markets hate uncertainty. If we had clarity as to why all of this was happening and there was some sort of clear end, we'd already be reversing. right? And that is our main issue. Is it's very confusing. Nobody knows whether the Fed is going to have to keep going because supply issues continue and the war rages on, or whether those things all of a sudden calm down and now the Fed is ahead of the curve instead of behind it. I mean, it's it's just confusing right now, and markets hate that.
Yeah, the one thing that I keep getting hung up. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
That was it.
The one thing I keep getting hung up on is the one thing that we've been talking about is the consumer credit crisis. Is that your net worth, when you have all of these risk assets and times are good, just skyrockets through the roof. Everyone gets really comfortable with the spending idea because their net worth is higher, and they I have all these pretty liquid assets that I can trade if I need to. Blah blah blah. The times are great. People don't change their spending habits or their working habits or consumption habits as that kind of takes a big downswing. So, people's net worths have absolutely taken a beating, but they're not adjusting their own spending. Now they're living off credit, and credit is getting very high on individuals. I thought that was a very interesting thing to be watching for too.
Everything's really a credit bubble, right? And we go through different types of credit bubbles.
The housing credit bubble. Yeah.
Right. The last credit bubble was not as much personal consumption and personal debt. It was more commercial debt and real estate debt that got everybody in trouble last time. This time, when there is a credit, and again, I don't think this is the world-ending crisis. And what I mean by that is I don't think this is the crisis that sends us back into a secular bear. I know that this is the big debate right now: are we going in? Has the sec bear already started? Has the tech bubble popped? Crypto, all that stuff. I don't think we're there yet. That is the debate right now. But are we being sent into a secular bear? I mean, I firmly believe not. And
yeah, you always say we got about 7 years left.
Well, yeah, but I do, to tie it back to our point, think it will be a credit crisis next time. And if we get the parabolic blow off top, which I think, because again, I am a fan of analogs when done properly. I think they're overused, but if we are analogging with the early 90s, we have a very big tech bubble ahead of us. And I think it'll largely be defined by crypto. I think that is kind of the new internet in a way that will drive a lot of it. I also think it's going to be things like biotech, stuff from traditional markets too, that we haven't been looking at. But we're going to be going into that parabolic phase. And if you thought people had access to credit during this last, people are going to feel very wealthy. They're going to leverage themselves to the hilt with personal debt, and there'll be a reckoning. I think it's really just human nature. And what economists debate is when you do something like the Fed has done, where you smooth it out and try to create a situation where we don't have depressions anymore, right? Like we have small recessions, but because the Fed is controlling stuff, we don't have decade-long depressions, right? That could eventually catch up to you, because if the Fed loses the plot and personal credit gets out of control, the next secular bear could be defined by the complete crash of quantitative easing, the effects of it, everything that came from. People have known for years that I've been a modern monetary theory bull, that I've been a fiat fan, that I have said that there's enough slack in our economy due to population growth that I think they could print even more. I don't even think they printed enough. I actually think that could you remove these supply chain issues that we have been going through because of COVID, you could have printed more. And I think there is.
I always wondered if it wasn't about the total amount that they printed. It was just about how fast it entered, right?
How fast it entered against what? Population growth. Right. The amount of people turning to the age where they go get a job and buy a house. This is what we are trying to get everybody in a job and in a house. That is what keeps our economy going. And we actually saw birth rate tick up for the first time in a lot. People have been seeing a short-term transient effect in birth rate and all that, and we're actually starting to see that long-term trend tick up again. So the modern monetary theorists, their whole point is, given how fast our population has grown, not just from the birth, but from immigration. We have some of the best immigration we had. I know in the last decade, things have changed a lot. But for the last 40 years, we have had very, very open immigration policies that have been fueling population. We wanted that. We pretend we don't want that. It helps replace birth rate that's going down. So
population, the ultimate Ponzi.
This is what I keep saying. The greatest Ponzi of all is capitalism, but the Ponzi, it would only end if we stopped having children, which I don't think is something that is a goal. So we can see that in developed Western countries, that can become a trend as people become wealthier, marry later, see less need.
Well, and this is honestly, I know normally we talk about NFTs, and now it's been more about crypto, and now we're just getting away from crypto. But fuck it, whatever. It's our show. We can talk whatever we want. One of the brilliant things about Elon, I think, is that he understands that population needs to continue to go up. This is how capitalism is fueled, and this is how this is something that you can't really put the brakes on, right? But he's also saying that, like, eventually, and it's further down the road than people think, but eventually, like, we are going to have to be a multiplanetary species. So we might as well start working towards that now, because you got to keep it kind of going, right? Like, that's the goal of any kind of species or any kind of society, is to just keep moving forward.
I also think Earth is massively underpopulated. I mean, you could probably fit 3 times the number of
yeah, I remember the number, like the comfortable number being 20 billion. Like, if we properly use like sustainable resources and aren't just like stripping everything out as fast as possible, it's 20 million or 20 billion, sorry, is pretty reasonable.
And that feels very inevitable to me. Like,
that'll happen
that's why I don't worry. And I don't want to say worry in the sense, like an irresponsible sense, but climate change will be solved by the technology that regulators are trying to slow down. Okay.
I know, it's crazy to me.
So it's I am not ignorant that that negative effects are happening because of infrastructure and the way humans are doing things right now. But I believe you invent your way out of it. You don't try to stop progress.
Well, you could never have gone from burning coal coal-powered engines to solar power. You have to take these intermediate steps. Everything in this world is based on being able to harness energy to a greater capacity so that you can push the limits of it. Computing power, machinery, all of that stuff. Like, coal power would never have gotten us to the point where we're effectively producing solar panels and stuff like that. But everyone said, oh, we never think about all the shit that we're doing. It was like, no, these are the inevitable steps that you have to take towards it. Like, it's kind of just one of those things. And sure, like, a lot of damage has been done along the way, but I do think that we are, as a species, very, very intuitive and very survivalist, right? And I do think that there's a narrative that nobody's doing anything, but I don't think that that's wholeheartedly correct. I think that people need to be conscious of it and aware of it and push for it and all of that stuff, because it is incredibly important. But if your main thesis was like, we never should have had gas, we never should have made plastics, we never, like, it just doesn't really work like that.
Human beings want to build. I don't think we know what we're doing. I think that urge to build is going to create the next evolutionary step in what this thing is, that is life, and we don't know why we're doing it. And the natural inclination for consumerism supports that. Like, everyone's against materialism. Everyone's against, like, oh, this is bad and blah blah blah. It is literally
sent from my iPhone.
Right, exactly. Well, it's literally driving the human race to the next evolutionary step, whatever that is. And
yeah, what's that? There's a scale, something of scale. I don't know. But yeah.
I hesitate to ever slow that down.
No, you actually you have there's I can't remember what the scale is called. Maybe somebody in chat knows, but there's these 4 major kind of breakthrough moments of a species, and we're not even at step 1. But basically the theorizing is like you have to cross over this or you will perish eventually, and then you have to kind of keep building towards that. It's very fascinating. Or maybe we're at like 1.2 or something. There's a long way to go.
That's why UFOs and alien life is interesting. You know, if they are capable enough to get here, they're capable enough to not be seen. Okay, if they are going to be seen, they want to be seen, right? I am sure they've developed way beyond the need to send themselves, be detected. I think that
now you're going into some real shit, man. I love this stuff. Yeah.
Of course, because if they're out there, there is if they have mastered moving faster than the speed of light, which is the most difficult problem there is, they have mastered not being able to be detected. So it is, how are we even here, my friend? What are we even doing?
I don't know. Dicken's saying, what if we're the more intelligent agents?
Very esoteric, but I don't mind.
We could be. That's the Fermi paradox. Is if there's all these intelligent life forms out there, if there's hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy that, you know, all have planets around them, and there should be X amount of this, and
the other interesting
great filter,
that we're first.
Look at this. I love this conversation. You guys are in for it too.
It's possible, you know, like if you think about the Big Bang explodes, you need a certain amount of time before the building blocks are in place to support life. So there are some scientists that have posited, is it just possible that the reason we seem to be the only intelligent life that we can detect in the universe because there just hasn't been enough time, right? Yeah. If there is other life out there, it's kind of evolving at the same. Maybe there are other planets close to our technological abilities, a little ahead, a little behind, but we're all kind of on the same path. Like there hasn't been enough time for there to be more. I don't buy that. I'm just saying.
No, I don't either. Because if you look at like, you know, the dinosaurs have been extinct for what, like hundreds of millions of years. If like an intelligent civilization had spawned then, which, you know, probably would have came out of them if they hadn't been completely wiped out. I mean, how fucking far ahead would they have been, you know, in 20 million years? Crazy. It's the Kardashev scale I was thinking of too, by the way. Look that up if any of this is interesting to you. But yeah, lots of very interesting futurism stuff out there. Crazy, awesome little stream of consciousness conversation. Cool. Yeah, 132 morning show. I am R2DGen, and this is Free Market Capitalist. Welcome. 25 minutes into the show. Hey now, there it is. All right. I mean, let's just keep it moving. But markets are down a little bit. We're still kind of last time I checked, before we started having this conversation, 1760 on Ethereum right now. S&P is taking a bit of a beating, down almost at 1.5% on the futures. Bitcoin's been surprisingly stable through all of this.
I noticed that too. I was like, is Bitcoin not really down compared to ETH?
No, I mean, it's up on the week. So I mean, there's about a 4 or 5% swing there, but Bitcoin
never trust those charts that like I can never trust the percentage it says. Like, I don't know when they decide the percentage started.
It's like literally a 24-hour rolling, right? So it's whatever it was 24 hours ago, and there could have been a huge spike.
But when did that start? Midnight Easter? Like, when does the day start for crypto? I don't even know when the day.
Oh no, like, so if you're looking at this 24-hour, like it's literally 1.3 from 24 hours ago right now.
That's very hard. That's very hard for me to like get my brain around, because in general, stocks open, stocks close, and then everyone goes home and talks about it for 12 hours. Like, oh, did you see what happened to Apple? It was down, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like just constantly, like, by the time you go to have the conversation that it did something, it's doing the exact opposite. And you're like, what in the goddamn hell? Man, I sound pretty boomerish right now, don't I?
What in the Sam hell?
What's happening? But markets are down today, but they were up a lot yesterday. I say this almost every show now because it's happening in front of our eyes. But bottoming is a process; it's not a moment. And whether we slightly go under the lows or not, the underlying metrics that need to be there when something is bottoming is there. So there are times you start paying less attention to price. And I know that sounds like dangerous or counterintuitive or weird, but it's very difficult to get, especially you will learn in crypto. It is very difficult to guess the exact price bottom or the exact price top. It just tends to go farther than anybody expects in both directions and leave crazy wicks that are extreme, like 10% moves in one way that aren't even there by the time you heard it happen. Like you go to look and then it's already returned. So crazy shit happens like that. And honestly, it's because of the amount of leverage. It's a very small, illiquid market where people use a ton of leverage. So that's why you get very, very extreme moves in both directions. If we slightly breached 1700, I would not freak out. I would just be adding. If we had a crazy crash down to the previous all-time highs between 13 and 1400, depending on what exchange you looked at that year, I would buy more. I do not feel like there is going to be a big price decline into the very bullish news cycle ETH is about to experience. I believe ETH has decoupled from what looks like macro markets and even Bitcoin right now. ETH seems to be in its own depressive world of can't catch a bid. I think that's miners. I think miners are selling everything they can before all of a sudden they're locked up from selling. So
yeah, the range that ETH has been trading in has definitely been wider than the range.
Wider and slightly more bearish.
Yeah.
That chart leans a little more south when you look at the angles of it, so to say. But I wish I could find the thread. People have tweeted 8 million times since then, and we did bring it up on this show. We actually went over the technical reasons as to why this is true. For about 3 weeks to a month before the actual merge happens. And remember, we're getting the test next week on the 8th. Let's see what good news flow comes out of that. Or, God forbid, the test goes wrong and it's bad news flow or something like that. But let's see what comes out of that test. The merge coming, and the way that ETH has been acting and this lockup, which again, I wish I could remember the technical reasons. Miners are not going to be able to sell for, I believe, 4 weeks ahead of the merge, just because of the way it works. So I look at it detaching in a weird way to the downside. And I just think it's miners just trying to sell anything they can before they can't sell anymore. Just my I haven't heard that said or confirmed by anyone else, though the technical aspect of miners cannot sell, that is legitimate.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch it all transpire. Obviously, hoping for the best for ETH 2.0. My apologies. I actually forgot that we do have to wrap the show up a little bit earlier, not right now. But we do just have a couple other things to get to. But I think going in the weekend, what are you watching for in the markets?
I am. Well, I mean, what am I watching for in the markets? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, like the S&P is going to close. I don't know. I just, a lot of times the weekends can have weird effects on like the stock market.
I don't know about that. I'll tell you what's interesting is that crypto has tended, whereas in the back in the olden times when we were in a bull market, we would sell off during the week we would sell off during the weekends and go up during the week. Now it's the opposite. We tend to go up on the weekends and
Yeah,
sell off.
that's what. Yeah, you're right.
So so let's see if this weekend brings another nice relief. But I don't know. I am not willing to call any. I think that there are, like I said, underlying market mechanics that are occurring at the bottom, which is why bottoming is here's what's happening right now. People that weren't on the wrong side of things are starting to get long. They're starting to shock. That's why you're seeing these big pops. People who have been on the wrong side of things are taking advantage of any move up to liquidate. So that's why bottoming's a process, because you have two fighting forces right now. The people who know it's cheap and have been liquid and are ready to buy, and the people who have been fucked and are looking for any type of exit liquidity to get out. You got to churn through that. And that's why price becomes a little less relevant, because you're not, you could just have these one day, some crazy sell pressure, or like we saw over the weekend, just insane buy pressure by somebody either starting a new position or cover or whatever was happening over the weekend, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Binance and The Weeknd are launching a crypto-powered world tour. The Weeknd will launch various NFT collections as Binance comes aboard the After Hours Till Dawn concert tour. Binance also donating $2 million to this is the Weeknd's charity. So Binance coming through in a big way to start to participate in the entertainment scene. The Weeknd is at this point one of the biggest names in the world in terms of music. I didn't even realize until reading this article, but he was actually pretty early to NFTs too. Abel dropped an NFT project last April on Nifty Gateway, featuring some art and music kind of mashups and whatnot. So definitely early to the scene there. And they're going to be looking at leveraging NFTs as access passes and all of that great stuff that we talk about. But I mean, again, this is one of the biggest names in entertainment at this point. So shout out to my fellow Canadian and local Toronto native, The Weeknd, for jumping in there. Binance, Binance is starting to participate in a pretty big way too in this marketing. We saw obviously Coinbase and crypto.com, FTX, all of that getting into, highly visible marketing the arenas basically, or plastering it all over the F1, et cetera, et cetera. Binance starting to participate too. So this is going to have a lot of young eyes on it. And we'll see what kind of participation they have in the actual events. I mean, I would assume there'd be some kind of like Binance area set up in the concert venue too, like they always do.
I think this is a great story for right now.
I think so too. Yeah.
Like, you look at crypto.com arena. Okay. I think that was one of the bigger things that right. This is the Staples Center.
Massive.
Where the Lakers play. Massive.
Won 5 championships there.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a very big deal. Right. And what does that say to me about crypto in general? This was the institutional corporate adoption phase, right? You see that I keep saying it, that this last bull run was defined by Paul Tudor Jones, the person who is looked up to by most people in markets as the macro guru, like the guy you look to for macro cues, right? Who up until that point had kind of dismissed Bitcoin. I think maybe originally he said it was stupid. Then midway he said it was interesting, and then all of a sudden it's $6,000. It was $9,000 or $10,000. I remember Bitcoin had gotten up to 12. It pulled all the way back to 6, and then it moved to 9. Nobody knew why, and then we found out Paul Tudor Jones had been buying, and he was bullish on Bitcoin. Shit was gone. Hit $20,000. Brief pause. 45. I remember those few weeks. That was
it was actually right in December, because it was we hit 21K on the 21st, 22 on the 22nd, 25 by December, 30 into the new year. That was a really big rally.
I remember Kobe. I remember all the crypto guys. Unbelievable up only celebration. It was just incredible. And it kicked off an institutional adoption cycle. Big banks, traditional hedge funds, all deciding, okay, whatever crypto is, it's legit, it's here to stay. They start moving, they start moving in. Now, I brought this chart up a lot. You see it plenty now. It's that bubble chart, right? The classic market bubble chart. And it shows,
we never hit euphoria.
Yeah. Oh, no. And not even close. And people will see what we mean in a few years. I don't think people understood. We were all kids.
We hit euphoria in 2017 in crypto. We have not hit that yet.
No. And we hit euphoria in 1999 in stocks. And we were all kids. I don't think people understand the level of mania and euphoria that great. This was gripping every day. Wait till every day on the news. It's crypto. This regular guy got rich on crypto. Yep. This person there will be a 2-year news cycle about people getting rich off this shit before the parabolic bubble before it actually pops or whatever. But if you look at this chart, after the institutional phase, there's what is called the bear trap. Okay, this is as classic of that. This being that as anything. Okay.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you're talking about a much longer time horizon than a bear trap this week versus last week or something. Like we are talking like a year or two kind of time horizon right now.
Remember, after the first bubble, traditional finance still dismissed crypto. It's dead. It's never coming back. That was that was a crazy bubble in a phase.
And that's what has me bullish about articles like this, is because you're not seeing sports franchises or sports leagues like the NBA shy away from crypto now that it's quote unquote crashed. You're not seeing celebrities pull out of deals like this because they don't want exposure to it. You're still seeing Drake go on Twitch and gamble like $1 million in Bitcoin on that stake app for gambling and stuff like that. And actually this is something that like I'm pretty bullish on too, is Drake is like just like really, I think, flirting with NFTs. Like his involvement in crypto enough has convinced me that he's pretty deep into it and likes it and whatnot. Watch for NFTs coming around the horizon on that too. I mean, this is just gut intuition, but when you see people like The Weeknd and Justin Bieber loading up on NFTs and posting them on Instagram, I really, really don't think that he's very far away from it.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he already has quite a bag of them.
And very, very early speculators, the original believers, people who got in early, they start to dump on those institutions. I mean, I really think the biggest effect of these pullbacks over the last few years has been miners exiting the game. I mean, they have banked, right? Over the last decade or whatever it is, they have banked. It is time for them to get out, not just before like the structure of Ethereum changes, but before regulation starts. Everything's about to get harder. All their edges have basically been worn down. The party's about to stop. It's time for them to exit. And I think that's what they've been doing over the last couple of years. So early adopters, miners, they're dumping on the institutions that adopted this. But those institutions that adopted it, they're still the early ones. These are the ones sticking their neck out, deciding, okay, this is a thing.
Institutions can't be that early to the party, but they can be early. For sure.
Well, and that's the thing. Some are, okay. Everyone has crazy ideas, and some of them work out. And the people that had this crazy idea, it just happens to be one that's working out. Now,
well, and I know that I know you hate him and whatnot, but that was like my main like micro strategy buy was just like Michael Saylor. I'm like, this guy's fucking nuts, and it's either gonna work out like incredibly or it's gonna work out very badly. I know tons of reasons why it's gonna work out badly, and that's fine. I mean, I can sleep at night with that. But I love that investment thesis of like it's just.
I guess nuts. I'll break the news. Yeah. Well,
you're getting right
and
a
I'll
little bit there.
News that I have decided Bitcoin. I have found utility for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin needs to exist. I am now bullish on Bitcoin existing and not falling to 6K.
Yeah. Well, I've told you my bull case on Bitcoin before.
That would be rare Pepes. Okay. As you guys know, rare Pepes are NFTs that are not on the Ethereum blockchain. They're on Emblem Vault, and it's a Bitcoin NFT. And it's arguably one of the most important category of NFT in our entire industry. Therefore, I am now bullish on Bitcoin. That was a little side note. Anyway, institutional adoption is what we have witnessed. We are now seeing what is referred to as the bear trap. And it's also why I think we're closer to a bottom than not. If this were the 80-90% drawdown 4-year winter, it wouldn't have come after the institutional adoption phase. Okay, it's going to come after the mass adoption phase. That is what we are waiting for, and it's why
yeah, because institutions aren't buying and selling this on a week or a month times. They're taking their positions over time and planning on holding it for a long time. It's the retail investors that make things get really frothy. They get super excited about it. Everybody apes in, then the capitulation starts to happen once it starts to bleed out badly.
And I believe institutions are buying right now. I think it's begun.
I don't know that you can argue that, because we've bounced so many times off 1,700 in the last year. That rate, like 1,800. I don't have like a hard number there, but like people are more than happy to scoop it up at that price. Like, it is being caught. Bitcoin's having the same thing. 27,000 doesn't want to break under that. So people are willing to load up more and more and more.
Well, I told this story before because it was pretty interesting to me. I don't know who this person was, but somebody I trust sent me the tweet. Somebody who I consider one of the bigger brains in this industry sent me the tweet. And the tweet was, this guy had called Bitcoin 60K. All right. So he was quote tweeting himself calling 60K. He goes, wow, we just hit 60K. That was great. What if I told you we're going to 26K this year, Anon? How does that make you feel? I was like, huh. I was like, wow. I was like, nah, bro. I didn't believe him. I really did. I was skeptical. Okay.
It's hard to believe that at the time when you're sitting at 60 to 70, because you know what the drawdown is on that.
And this is not coming from someone who was bullish on Bitcoin or gave a shit what price it was at. I was just like, really? 26? Like, I think this is just that my brain is calibrated to traditional markets, and 50% drawdowns are not normal. Okay, like 50% drawdowns tend to indicate world-ending situations. So
this market is going to condition a lot of people. I will say that.
And I do. That's feel a good thing too. I've learned. I feel like I understand that person's mentality, why they said that. And amazingly prescient. Hat tip to whoever the hell that person was. There are times where I'm like, man, if I could just find that tweet, but I can't find the tweet. It's just like this miner thing. Like, I'm telling you, miners are soon not going to be allowed to sell. And I'm pretty sure right now this is institutions fighting miners every day.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I learned a long time ago to stop doing that. Like, oh, I can't hit 1,000. Oh, 2,000. Like, why would it ever hit 2,000? Oh, 10,000. That's ridiculous. 20,000. Like, I learned a long time ago. Like, don't fall into that trap. Like, if we're looking back in, let's just say 8 years time at the end of the 2020s, like, it would not surprise me to see Bitcoin sitting at $1 million. It just wouldn't. And ETH sitting at like 50, 60, 100, whatever. I know you're going to say it's going to flip it. It's fine. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it would not surprise me anymore.
Bitcoin will get to $250,000 before the end of the decade. I don't know about $1 million. And hell, I mean, we said,
$21 trillion market cap. It doesn't even seem that ridiculous, does it?
21 trillion. Yeah. 7 apples does seem a little ridiculous.
But in 8 years, what's Apple going to be at?
I agree. Well, that's why right now, getting your head around a 21 trillion. Again, though, I don't think you value the network the way you would value a company. Bitcoin is not.
No, I get that too. Yeah.
I think market cap's a weird way to value a protocol. It's valuable for a trader because it gives you ratios and perspective as to how much money can flow into something. That's why it's valuable, right? Like, you see these $10 billion market caps in the top whatever, and you know that how much value is locked there, right? You can get an idea through market cap of how much money is flowing through these ideas. Now, can you use it to extrapolate like traditional financial metrics from that you normally would? Like, is this expensive based on revenue? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what would you, in other words, what would you value the internet at? Right? Like, what is the internet? You know what I mean? Is it $100 trillion entity? Right? Like, we don't value.
The other thing too is like I think we're just recently starting to get comfortable with the number trillion, like that price range too, right? Like it really wasn't too long ago, like let's say 10, 15 years ago, that $1 trillion was just like a number that it just didn't seem like it should exist in finance. But you get there.
For a decade, the richest man in the world was vacillating between 50 and 60 billion. It was because
it's a mid-tier billionaire now.
No, right. And remember, we talk about secular bears, right? And during this sec bear, it was just like constantly between Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and a few other people who would just trade. You know, one would be up 10 billion that year, one would be down. The moment we leave that secular bear, now we have, you know, two guys who are going to be trillionaires within easily a few years, if not shorter. I mean, that is, like R2 said, it's very hard at the speed in which it's happening to be used to these numbers, and they become so big. Look, I tell people all the time when we talk about what is crypto at 1.5 trillion, right? Apple, $3 trillion. My stocks are down, so don't quote me. My brain is still in January, or I think Apple's 2.5 trillion, whatever it is now, right? So,
and it wasn't that long ago that everyone was like, "Oh my God, Apple's going to be the first $1 trillion company."
Right, and that was it was at 600 billion. The thought of even getting to $1 trillion was crazy, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, all of crypto put together isn't even half that. And if you think about real markets, bond markets, derivative markets, we are talking quadrillions. No. We're talking quadrillions. And forget getting your head around trillions. We're talking 1,000 trillions, okay? Quadrillions now. So the last I looked, which was a few years ago, the derivative market was worth like $7 quadrillion.
Yeah.
The crypto, if it is
a drop in the bucket, crypto's a rounding error.
If crypto is going to be legitimate, boy, are you early. Holy shit, are you early. Like, it's not even funny how early we are. That is not to say being early automatically makes you profitable. R2 and I have been going over that point, I think, the last couple of weeks, because it became a tag in our industry, right? We are early, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's honestly just become a coping mechanism. Oh, it goes down, you're still early. Oh, you're still early. I got to tell you from experience, I was earlier than a lot of people in 2017, and that was still late compared to a lot of other people, but I held a lot of junk, and I did not come out incredibly ahead on that investment from 2017 to 2022.
Early doesn't.
The money that I have accumulated since then and put into the right things has done very well for me, but I didn't come out of that a huge winner. I definitely didn't lose money, but I learned some hard lessons, and just because you're earlier than most doesn't mean that you can't bag hold a bunch of junk, and I did.
And you could be a genius, futurist, visionary that sees something coming that nobody else saw. You're there early, you're ready for it, you're telling all your friends about it, and then some sharp comes along. It's 2 years after you figured it out and trades it better than you.
Yep.
He wasn't sitting there like.
And let's rewind back to that, because at that time, like in that realm, everybody was trading all of this shit to stack Bitcoin. It was how big can I get my Bitcoin bags? Like those ones that really saw further into the future was that the newer people did Bitcoin and or Ethereum, and now the dichotomy is it's Bitcoin or Ethereum is like I don't want to say the sure bets, but as far as crypto goes, I mean they are the surest bets that
you saying it's the apes and punks of crypto.
Yeah, 100%. or the apes and punks are the crypto of NFT. Whatever. I don't know.
No, they're the blue chip people.
Yes. Yeah.
If we're gonna call something a blue chip, those would be your blue.
If there's going to be two that survive, it'll be those two. Like if you had to just pick two and say, I got to put every dollar in, everything else is going to zero. What am I putting it into? I mean, 100 times out of 100 times is Bitcoin or Ethereum.
And I think, where's a lot of the next bull run going to come from? I think it's going to be capital rotating out of alternative L1s. I think we've gone through this major cycle of alt L1s that are going to revolutionize things. Now, first of all, they're taking the premise that the reason mass adoption isn't occurring is because of fees. I think the last 5 years have proven that to be wrong. If that were the case, any of these other L1s would have just taken off, right? If fees were the issue, there have been a ton of alt L1s with zero fees. Why didn't they take off and become the next big thing? Ethereum people love to talk about, it was bullshit. It wasn't, they couldn't scale. They couldn't do that. But none of them even came close. None of them had a false, a false move in that you're like, here come the masses for Solana. It's just, it didn't happen for this. No, it is not the reason crypto isn't seeing mass adoption. There are many other reasons for that. Honestly, ETH is fine. ETH is all you're going to need for a base layer L1 to build smart contracts on top. That doesn't mean things like Oracle or Flow, other things can't exist. Small niche blockchains for interesting reasons, though I all think they'll interact with layer zeros that end up doing a lot of that end up interacting with ETH very seamlessly. I think things like Polkadot, while I'm not bullish on Polkadot only because I don't know enough about it or anything, I think the concept of a layer zero in which smaller niche chains easily interact with the bigger ones that people are going to primarily be in is going to be a big key to mass adoption. But I think, again, much of the premise for why alt L1s need to exist is faulty, and it's been proven. I just think the last few years have proven that out.
I do think a little bit of competition and heat does matter too, though. Like, does Solana light a fire under Ethereum's ass to try and that competition is important. I think it does. I don't think people are going to stop attempting to make better L1s. I don't think that is going to stop it. I think the VC kit and caboodle is going to start moving towards a different concept, right? So the majority of their money isn't going to be in supporting alt L1s for this premise. I just think they've worn out that play. People see it coming a mile down the road right now. They got to invent some new premise. I don't know, 0K roll-ups, social tokens. These soulbound tokens that Vitalik has been talking about, interesting too.
Exactly.
Free market. A couple things I want to just go over before we wrap it up. I am kind of running to the end of my time here today, unfortunately. But Johnny Depp's NFT was kind of taken off there for a little bit, especially on the news that he won his court case against the defamation case against Amber Heard. This had quite a run. These were going for upwards of 0.8. I think you and I were actually a little bit surprised when we were talking about it because we saw this come up, but I don't even remember it being released. But doing all right now, sitting at a 0.4 floor. Actually not bad looking art either. It's a very celebrity based. There's some AlphaMint ones in there and stuff like that.
You know what it reminds me of? If Cyber Brokers and World of Women had a baby.
Yeah, kind of. I could see that too, like that kind of vectorized art and whatnot. Yeah. But you know what? Honestly, like if you were watching that case and thinking like a lot of attention on Johnny Depp right now, I think he's like good little bet to pick these up. They were trading for as low as 0.2 a little while ago. They have cooled off, but lots of volume coming out on this project lately. So good on you for doing that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Boki. I think a lot of people and myself are frustrated by this, but it is what it is. Things like Goblin Town doesn't frustrate me. Things like Azuki running as high as it did, all these other projects. Like, it doesn't bother me that those things did. I just really thought we were done with this shit. Obviously, the backstory is Starcatcher's Botrick announced like a week after they revealed that he's doing another project on his own. People were pissed off about that. There was tons of insider trading, metadata leaks, blah, 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 grabbing things, selling them for a lot higher, pre-reveal, blah, blah, blah. All back to Botrick. Botrick goes on to found Boki. All of that other shit comes out. The team kicks Botrick off of his own project, of which this is his art, mints out in this market and is just absolutely killing it. 1.75 ETH. I think it was getting around 2 ETH before, very, very briefly, before some sell pressure came back in. It's actually dumped pretty hard since I pulled this tab up. 1.4 ETH. But I don't know. I mean, let's. I just want to hear your take on this before we wrap the show up, and we can get into it more Monday morning if you got some real hot takes. It does kind of just piss me off. I don't know why. I try not to get irrationally mad about things that really just don't affect me, but this one is just like a little bit. It stings a little bit. I wish it would have been Starcatchers.
I personally love this. But maybe my brain works in a sick way. You know, Starcatchers was the first rug I've ever been a part of. I've actually, hand to God, have avoided what people call a rug. Most of I had never bought a rug. I don't have rugs in my portfolio, right? I just avoided those things. That means I missed a lot of cooks, right? But I don't. I have avoided this one. Starcatchers was the first rug I ever bought. And it hurt, right? It was not enjoyable in any way. But more than NFTs, more than ETH, more than anything, I am a fan of markets. In fact, I am a fan of free markets. You may glean that.
Some might have surmised, yeah.
Somehow. But the market loves this guy's art. I think that's pretty damn obvious. I am not here to argue with the market. And you know why? It's pretty fabulous art. The guy is good. Whatever you
And I was
want.
going to say that, but my frustration is he's not even part of this project now.
No, he's not. And nobody can. That's the thing. No, we have to stop pretending the market should care about things the market just never cares about. The market does not care. Stop trying to make the market.
The universe is indifferent.
Completely indifferent. There is no good. There is no bad, right? Will this Butrix guy see legal repercussions, bad karma? Maybe, but it's not my job, and I don't really give a shit. I am out here in the fucking casino every day trying to make a bag. And if I make $1 million, I beat the casino. And if I lose, the casino beat me. I'm not worried about how it happened. I know I'm going into war every day. This is war. It's a zero-sum game. Okay? I buy something. I don't give a shit. I don't care how if it goes to zero, I don't really give a shit how it went to zero. I don't care if it was because of the right reasons, because of the wrong reasons. And if it goes to 10 ETH, I don't really give a shit why it went to 10 ETH. Okay? This is not, if you are going to be a profitable trader, you should not be worrying about the social justice, virtue signaling politics of this industry. People who want to get out there and be white knights and change everybody. We got to be better than this. That's fine. Let them go and do that. Just never let it color your trading decisions, okay? Once you saw these starting to cook at 0.3 or 0.4 and every ape on earth talking about them, seemed like a pretty obvious cook to me. I'm happy for anyone who bought. I don't mind that they did. And they look fucking great. Do I like Butrix? No. Did he rug me? Yes. Do I care? No.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that. I've been part of a couple of rugs, minted some pretty shitty things, and it is what it is. Again, high upside comes with high risk. Like you want these moonshots, you're gonna have to deal with some zeros too. It is what it is.
Responsibility.
You don't get to absolve yourself of that. I see so many people in these discords where mint doesn't go down the way it should have, all this stuff, and they're like refund. Like you don't get a free roll on all of this shit, my friend.
Stop coming into this. Stop coming into this industry trying to steal $1 million from the market and then cry to mommy when someone steals your money, okay? How do you think you're going to make that million? You think it's going
where's that money coming from? Yeah, exactly.
You think it's going to materialize out of thin air? Or you think you're taking it out of somebody's pocket? If you're in here participating in this market, you're a participant. Don't go crying to the authorities or mommy and daddy when you get rugged. You are just as much a part of this market as everybody else. Stop bitching.
And that being said, I don't advocate for anybody rugging or getting rugged, but when there's, like I said, when there's huge upside reward, there's always, downside. VCs go through this all the time, unless there's like blatant fraud, like Elizabeth Holmes with whatever that company was. Like Theranos. They expect, exactly, Theranos. They expect a lot of their investments to go to zero, right? And here's what they do. If that company didn't make it, comes to them again saying, hey, I started a new company fundraising, it's probably going to be a lot harder for them to get investments the second time around or the third time around, whatever. But I mean, that's the game that they play. They want those decacorns where they get the, 20,000x on their $1 million investment and just make absolute bank or whatever. Don't do the math on that. But, it comes at a cost. There's, 40 other shots that they take that either has minimal returns, break even, or just flat out zero. It's the game you play.
The market doesn't give a shit. People don't give a shit what Kanye or Pablo Picasso do. They just don't give a fuck. These are art, okay? And the market doesn't give a fuck what Butrix does. They like his art.
Yeah, well, the Department of Justice might at this point, but
that's the point. Yep. Is anybody here?
Let them deal with it.
Department of Justice? If you are, hello, I love you and I appreciate you. But if you're not, this is none of your business. Shut the fuck up. You're either you are not going to,
or you have like strong evidence or something that points to that. Send it off to them. I don't care.
No one here is advocating fraud or rust. No. What I'm saying is, if you're coming in here trying to get rich, understand something. If this was the magical regulated utopia where there were no scams, there wouldn't be any money to be made, motherfuckers. The only reason there's money to be made is because it's dangerous. It's because it's risky.
By the way, this shit happens in the stock market all the time too.
Yeah. Moment this shit is regulated, everything, it's over. I mean, come on. People talk out of both sides. They just want to win no matter what. Like, oh, this happened, so I should get a do-over. I should get a mulligan. You should get a smack upside the back of your head. R2, close it down.
Yeah, perfect. Glad you said that because I was about to do it myself. Lots of market talk. We had like a really interesting talk about some other stuff at the beginning of the show, so go check that out and listen to it if you like it. But on that note, I do have to wrap the show up. Free market, you have yourself a great weekend. Everybody that's still listening, you have yourselves a great weekend as well. The weather is supposed to be beautiful, and well, at least where I'm from. I hope you enjoy it. So on that note, we'll see you back on Monday. Free market, get us out of here.
Good luck.